You're Julia Taravella, an AGU mom, founder and president of the Rare Trait Hope Fund. Already the discussion we had in the morning was very insightful. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. It's a great conference. I don't know about you, but I actually learned already a lot for our community. Just what I want to do is actually tell you a story about our disease. And one of the things, what I want to say, what all of you are doing here, lots of people asking me, you just a parent, you are just an advocate organization, which when I looked at that, what we achieved so far, and we're about actually to start clinical trial, probably. We are applying to FDA in the United States right now to start clinical trial. So what I call myself, and when I introduce myself to in different conferences or to different people, I called us in a nonprofit biotech, because all of you, and that's what we are doing, it's actually a nonprofit biotech. I did several master's degrees. I never was able to finish PhD just because I had to stop and actually take care of my children. But the acronym that I'm most proud of is RP. And I think all of you are here RP. It's a rare parent. My kids, I have two boys, Daniel and Alexander. It took me 18 years to actually get diagnosis for my kid's disease. When my oldest son, Daniel, was born, I remember the first sighting of the disease. I went to a play date with my girlfriends who had also boys exactly the same. They're all born within a week of each other. And it was 6 months. They were all about 6 months old. And both of the other boys already was crawling and tried to bubble something. And my child was barely able to sit up. And I was like, okay. And I remember start talking to myself, he's just a late bloomer, everything will come. And that was this theme of the story for the next 15 years. But then it was told to me by the doctors, he's just a late bloomer. So my poor child, Daniel, and then Alexander, but Daniel is much more affected because I noticed when Alexander was 6 months old, I really noticed exactly the same features. So Alexander is developed a lot more because I started all kinds of therapies on Alexander almost from like that 6 months old. I remember at 6 months, I already put him in a swimming lessons. I already start doing stuff with him. I never did that with Daniel. And with Daniel, so Daniel has more severe disease. So that poor child, for the first 15 years of his life, underwent so much testing. He probably had 5,000 blood draws from all of the doctors. He had all kinds of MRI, CT scans, whole body x-rays, any kind of studies that are there, muscle biopsies, neurobiopsies, all kinds of stuff. Nobody can diagnose him. And finally, when Daniel was 15 years old, the doctors started telling me, okay, you have to make children happy and you have to stop searching, which really didn't stand well with me. What I did at that time, genetic medicine and actually gene sequencing was extremely expensive. It was the time when 23andMe was still $500 per person. So what we did, we actually budgeted our Christmas presents for everybody in a family and did everybody, we didn't buy any other presents that year. We bought 23andMe because that's what I thought, that maybe I can find something over there. But nothing came out, of course, from 23andMe. It was just the standard kind of ancestry and the standard results of that. In the next year, I took university classes and trying to find out and to learn more about genetics, because it if it would be my children would be diagnosed, it would be completely up to me. So what I did is I actually download raw data, learn how to program, and wrote a program to identify what's the mutations my children had. And it took me about a year and a half. So I actually, when I run the program for the first time, and I remember it was February, I couldn't believe my results. The only gene that had kind of issues was the AGA gene. I read everything that I could, and probably like many of you, I actually felt into huge depression because I knew what is the result of the gene means, that there is no treatment, there is nothing that can be done for the child, and child is really is going to die within a couple of years of diagnosis. So the disease called aspartyl-glucosaminuria. In short, it's AGU, but the foundation that we actually put up together, I couldn't call it aspartyl-glucosaminuria cure. It would be really too tough for everybody to pronounce. And AGU is actually trademarked by American Geological Unit, which I couldn't do that too. So we called the foundation's Rare Trade Hope Fund. But AGU is the disease that has, it's a cellular protein, it's an enzyme that breaks down certain type of sugars, but as a result, it's autism-like disorder. So it is the language problems, is developmental delay and intellectual disabilities, skeletal abnormalities, and premature death. At that time, it was considered to be 25 years old. It is increased in the last 10 years that we're doing research to 35 to 45 due to ability to identify and actually manage the care of those children. We were lucky that I knew what was diagnosis kids had in February, but my husband completely was in denial first with my crazy idea. So he waited for the diagnosis in July from the doctors, official diagnosis. So our depression was, mine was finished by the time, and I already was in a full swing, and he just started. So we were very happy that our depressions was like 6 months apart. So we started gene therapy, and that was kind of, I screened for all of the possible ideas and people who can work on that. And gene therapy was the only option that's actually, at that time, was able to treat every single child with this particular disease. So what I will talk to you about is what happened during those times. So we started the gene therapy in 2013 and set up the foundation 6 months after I realized how much money it will take. The disease is extremely diagnosed because it is, I call it non-dramatic disorder. The children are very nice, and I am pretty sure that Laurent probably would like our mice because they're extremely nice and not mean. So, and that translates into children. Children are extremely nice. They are sweet, and you probably relate to that because most of your children are extremely nice, extremely lovable. And, but the children can walk, so it is less dramatic disorder. But as a result of that, we have a lot less diagnosed of the community. So it's extremely small community. From the time from 2013 to 2018, it was just me and one other family in France that was doing all the fundraising. So we started the research. We completed all of the trials that Spela did over here. And I think up to that, it took us exactly around the same time, around 5 years to get to that. And at that time, I was getting the advice from every single person, you need to find a pharmaceutical partner, which is a good idea because it's extremely, it takes lots of money and extremely important. And you can hear that all the time. Get the pharmaceutical partner. Find somebody will pay for a couple million for the development of the drug, several million for the clinical trial. And that's actually where our mistake was. We found that pharmaceutical partner. That's what happened in almost 3.5 years. So what that happened is the pharmaceutical partner came, they started the natural history study, they start production of the medicine, they looked at everything, they understand the gaps that's nonprofit foundation or nonprofit biotech can bring into the clinical trials versus pharmaceutical company, and they started to bridge those gaps. Remember what has happened in 2021 before the COVID, between the COVID and the economic downturn? You know what happens with ultra-rare diseases? That's a low-hanging fruit. That's the first things that gets dropped. Remember how around the world, every single ultra-rare diseases got dropped. And that's what happened to us. We were one of those people that's got dropped because it's non-economical for the bigger company to develop that. And as a result, we decided to pick it up and go forward. So in 2021, we started the drug production. So it is exactly what Shpela is doing now. It is you're producing the drug for toxicology, safety and toxicology study. And the next thing, you're producing the drug for your clinical trial. You can do it in parallel. And you're doing your GLP study. GLP is where good laboratory practices, it was where you prove that the drug that you produced is non-toxic in the animals. So hopefully you translate it to people, to humans, and it will not be toxic to them. And that's where we're now. We're just about to submit all of the documents to FDA authority for us to start a clinical trials. The protocol is developed. I think somebody was saying that there is lots of drugs that needs to be taken along with gene therapy just to support the gene therapy. Everything is developed. Most of the researchers are in place to go forward with the clinical trial. How much it costs us? It's about $500,000 to do everything preclinical and about $5 million to do everything from the drug production and toxicology study. It is extremely expensive. That doesn't include clinical trials. And that is where you need the community to come back. What we decided to do as a community, and it would be up to you to decide to do, we decided that until we pay for all of that, and we still have a little bit over $1 million to pay. We had $5 million. So we still have over $1 million to pay. Till this will be paid off, none of the children will be treated. So no children. So we decided to get together the community and do that. It's extremely important because you show that you're supporting your community, that you're doing the work, whatever hard it is. This is a table I want you to look at, and this is actually the key takeaways from all of the steps that we are done so far and we are doing. One of the things what I want you to look at is actually the cost range. And the cost range varies dramatically. It all depends on how do you do that, what innovative pathways you find in. and what support do you get? For example, one of the reasons, so when the drug is produced, let's take that as example. When the drug is produced, there's lots of little steps that needs to be taken and lots of companies coming together. The main drug producer, from I understand from you, is ViralGen, but there's lots of little things for us was we did it in lots of different companies. And one company said that we actually can do that part for you for free. If you will come with the children, and it was totally different country, you'll come with the children and actually show our employees what is it important for you and how our employees can support. You can reach out to the different companies within your country just to see whether they would be interested in supporting you. This is just one of the examples. And that's what's reducing the cost, or actually put that amount of money to reduce that overall dollar amount of that 5 million. It still will be 5 million, but there will be some additional things you can do to reduce that. And it's all comes from you all. Yeah, that's communications with the regulatory agencies, very, very important. I think Spella knows that very well. We have a great community, and you are actually even a larger community that is, our disease is actually a lot smaller than yours. But nevertheless, every community can come together and support. Gene therapy is something that can be treated every single child eventually. And so I'm just trying to, every single child can participate one way or another, be it a natural history study, on real treatment of the disease. Actually, what we're doing right now here is making sure that those parents that become parents of their child in 10 years will never have to gather here, will never to hear those stories, because they will be able to go to a doctor and get the treatment for their child once the child is born. Think about that. I don't know what will happen, whether my children will be able to participate in gene therapy, or whether only one child will be able to do that and another not. But nevertheless, I know that somebody will not go through that experience anymore. Well, thank you.